In this video, we are going to be writing the verify Twitter results from activity method. In doing so, we will retrieve valuable information for the user. Right now, we have no good place to display that information. I think the most appropriate place is on the credentials window. In order to do this, we will need to add an NS text field outlet in our interface file. We'll name it authentication text. We'll go to our implementation file using Command Option up arrow, and we'll add a text field. I'm going to enter just past display text. I'll type in IBO. We'll get an NS text field and authentication text. If you remember back early in the series, we added two user scripts. One was to create a pragma mark, and the other one was a variable declaration tidier. Well, I gave shortcuts to both of those, and I'm going to use the tidier now. So I'm going to highlight all of the text here, use my shortcut, and it lines everything up nice and neat. Okay, so I'll save that. Now that we've added an outlet for the authentication text, it's time to go over to Interface Builder and add it to our window. So I'll double-click Main Menu Nib. And the window we're going to put this on is our credentials window, and we need to make it a little larger. I'll just highlight everything and drag it down. I'm going to come over to Inputs and Values, and I'm going to grab a label, and I'll resize it. I'm going to go over to the Attributes in our Inspector window, and I'm going to set the alignment to center. Then I'm going to go to the menu at the top, choose Font, and Show Fonts. And this will bring up our font panel window. And we're going to want this text to be a little larger. And I'm also going to change the font to Arial. And then I'll change the size. I think 18 will be about right. And then we can move this back up just a little bit. About right there. And then resize the window again. That looks good. Save that. I'll close the font window, and now we need to hook it up. So I'll go to the main controller, and I'll control drag up to the label, and I'm going to choose authentication text, and I'm also going to select the label and remove the title, and hit tab. And I think we're all done with this, so I'll save it, and we'll go back to Xcode. I'll close the sidebar, and back to the implementation file. Now we need to add our method. So I'll scroll up above the IB actions. And now that we're adding instance methods, this might be a good time to add some pragma marks. So I'll enter down, and for everything that's an action, I'm just going to call this actions. You can type it in all lowercase. When we run the script, it's going to make it uppercase. So I'll highlight it, hit my shortcut key, and it creates my pragma mark. And to see what this looks like, we can go up to our method menu. And here we can see that we have a small line right there, and then the word actions. And if we look down here, our pragma mark has a small dash out to the side of it, and that dash is what creates that line right there. And then our next line, actions, that's what it says here. And the comment above the pragma mark is something I like, and it helps me find things in the file. Okay, so we'll close that. I'll add another pragma mark, and this one I'll call instance methods. I'll highlight it, hit the shortcut key, and now we have an instance method pragma mark. Our verify Twitter result from activity is not going to return anything, so it'll be void. But the first argument will be a string. I'll call this result, and from activity. This is also going to be an NS string, and just call it activity. We can also put this one on 2 lines, and notice that in Xcode it always lines up the colons. So in multi-parameter methods, as you've noticed, I've always entered down on new lines for each method. I think this makes it more clear and easier to read. So we'll start in on the method, and for testing purposes, so I'll just put a little note here. We'll log the results. It's just a preemptive strike in case we make any mistakes. And now we start checking for each of the results that we could get back from our Twitter class. So we'll start off with an if statement. And we'll say result. If you're equal to string, and the string we want to check for is no credentials. And if we have no credentials, we're going to want to set the text that we just created in our window, the authentication text. And we're going to set its string value. And we'll set it to no credentials. And we'll just make that all caps. We'll also want to show our credentials sheet. And give the user an opportunity to enter their credentials. We'll put in an else if. And here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to check for is equal to string. And this time we're going to check for cite down. And if the cite's down, we're going to want to drop down an alert window. Now we haven't created the alert window yet, but we'll go ahead and put it in now. And then we'll create it when we get done with this method. So we'll say self document modal alert with title. And the title we'll give it is cite down. This will also have a message. So we'll say with message. And the message we'll use is Twitter site is currently down or you have no internet connection.